My name is Kami, and this is my channel where I review games after 100% achievement completion. Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus is a 3D platformer developed by Sucker Punch Productions. It has a distinct art style, precise controls, and an accessible design for people of any age. It's important to note I played the PlayStation 3 HD collection, but this game is available on the PlayStation 4 and 5. There's times I want a game that frustrates me, and times I want a game that lets me win. Sly Cooper's difficulty aligns with the latter. The game presents platforming challenges, slowly increasing in difficulty throughout the level, but nothing that would create frustration nor tension. The enemies sprinkled throughout are never a threat at all. The challenge is that Sly dies instantly. The checkpoint system is quite frequent. The most progress the player will lose is just one section. It's less forgiving than a game such as Astrobot, which has shorter levels and more frequent checkpoints. The difficulty of Sly Cooper stood out to me a lot. Since I didn't struggle, I ended up blasting through the game. That's not to say the game didn't have enough content, but I wasn't challenged compared to when I played Jak and Daxter, which had me cursing at my monitor. Sly can jump, attack, and sneak around certain objects. It's a small toolkit, but it's enough for anyone to remember. Enemies die in one hit, which reduce the tension of getting caught. On one hand, it means players can respond quickly. On the other, it means there's no stakes when getting caught. Clue bottles are scattered throughout the level, which are used to unlock extra abilities. Whilst they are fun to use, their application is limited, considering most challenges are platforming related. Speaking of platforming, Sly's movement is sharper than a fresh razor. It astounds me how a game from 20 years ago understood movement and responsiveness better than some games released in the past few years. The biggest compliment I can give is that the developers nailed the precise physics. Compared to Jak and Daxter, this game feels much more responsive and forgiving when jumping. Levels have dedicated themes, which I love. It's always fun to see developers create challenges within a theme. Aside from the platforming and collectibles, there's also minigames which were sprinkled in to keep things fresh. The premise of a globe-trotting raccoon who steals from other thieves is something that wouldn't happen in today's age. Sly is a charming raccoon going on heists with his two pals. What I like about the story and gameplay is the inclusion of all the gang members. Murray and Bentley are featured in the aforementioned minigames, which adds a certain charm to the team. The antagonists have surface-level cartoonish motivations, which is fine. It's enough to push the story, but certainly not enough to be memorable. Since the levels are self-contained, the overall narrative is akin to a children's TV show. There's exciting moments each level, but they're mere stepping stones. The finale is perhaps the best level in the game, but the villain feels underwhelming. The game spends the entire time building them up in the background, and I couldn't even remember their motivations after completing the game. Cell shading will always create an art style that gamers will remember. The game has beautiful, vibrant colors. Unfortunately, the textures look dated. Whilst the game runs at 720p, the textures don't look as if they've been upscaled. A lot of textures look washed out and blurry, which is a shame because a lot of effort was put into the visual design. Lighting and particle effects also look like a mesh of PNGs. It's not a bad practice to do that, but when the textures are blurry, the particles also look blurry. The problem with playing in HD is the apparent difference in particles, textures, and models, which were made for a console that couldn't output that level of detail. The audio is the weakest part of this game in my opinion. Whether it's the cutscenes or the gameplay, the audio files seem to be low fidelity. I don't know if this was a restriction of the PlayStation 2 or if the files couldn't be restored, but most of the audio sounds as if a bit crusher was applied to it. Sound effects were the most apparent. The same goes for the dialogue. However, the soundtrack sounded a lot cleaner. One thing that was notable was the change in the soundtrack when the player gets detected. It emphasized the changing dynamics in the gameplay, which I thought was a great touch. The achievements for this game are dead easy. They're all collectible based, and there's not much else to say. They're all obtainable if you try to collect the bottles and unlock the safes. Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus is certainly a solid classic game. If you wanted to get something short and simple, it's easy to recommend. The art style is something that I couldn't forget. However, the game was completed too fast, and I struggle to recommend this over another platformer which had more unique features. If you want something that's safe and easy to play, definitely give this a go. If you stuck around to the end, thank you for watching. You can vote on which game I'll review next on the community post.